Hi everyone, my name is Kenny
And my name is Rian, and welcome to Candid Perspectives.
with Kenny and Ryan.
Welcome to Candid Perspectives. My name is Scott, and today I will be taking over as host. Today we have three amazing guests, and they are.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rian.
Hi everyone, my name is Kenny.
Hi guys, my name is Kyla.
Today we'll be asking questions to get a little insight on the female perspective. So let's jump right into the questions. So let's start with a simple one. Using one word, describe what separates boys from men.
Maturity.
Attitude.
Those are good words. I would say mindset. Mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want your opinion on personality versus looks when it comes to guys.
Personality all the way. But for me, at least, because I don't know if anybody else notices, but there's a thing. A lot of really attractive guys have really bad personalities for some reason. Now, I'm not saying the ones that have good personalities are unattractive, because I mean, my boyfriend is amazing. But you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And I would have to agree with you. For me though, it's always been personality, even with friends that I choose. Because to me, like, it have some people, they're like, oh my gosh, isn't that girl so pretty? Isn't that guy so good looking? But if I've had like a rude encounter with them before, I'm like, no, they're not good looking. Like, what are you saying? To me, they look bad because I know they have a bad attitude. So personality is the first thing that draws me into a person.
Well, for me, it would have to be personality. But something that my mom always says, she's like, Rian, think about it. So you marry the person, you go home with them. What you gonna do? You're gonna sit down and stare at them the whole time? No, you need to talk to him. And you can't just talk to a statue, it would not work. So
That makes sense.
That's true.
I know some people would say there's a ratio between how much personality matters and how much looks matter. So what would you say is the ratio?
Oh, I would say looks about 40 and personality about 60 for me at least.
I can't really give it in percentage, but there's a point where because to do the chemistry in your brain. So if your brain finds this person attractive, even just the slightest person, you're like, okay, we could work with this, could go with that. But if your brain is like, I just can't do it, so I'm sorry, then no, you just can't do it. Sorry.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you get a feeling like, when you're talking to somebody, so this would be the personality, right? When you talk to somebody and then when you finish speaking to them, you're like
You like them
actually
more.
tired. Oh no, well
Yeah.
that too. But I just mean like you actually feel tired because their personality just sucks. But to answer the ratio question though, I was gonna say for me it's probably like 75% personality, 25% looks. Because like Kenny, I tend to notice your personality before I notice your looks. I don't know, by the time I notice your looks, you're already catching with the personality most likely. So
Okay. And this question is a question I'm sure most guys have. Why do you all say communication is key, but then find it hard to communicate?
I think that I'll answer on behalf of my sisters out there who have a bit of a communication issue. I personally, I don't think I have a communication issue. I'm very straightforward, I'm very blunt. I think that based on like interacting with some of my friends, I think that some of them are just they're scared on like about how they may react or what they would think, or they feel like insecure, like, oh my gosh, what if I say this and then he feel this way or he get upset or this like that. So some of them are like, let me just kind of like beat around the bush. But then on the other hand, there's some girls who just don't understand how to communicate with males. Males are very logical, very straightforward, very to the point, whereas most like girls tend to be very emotional and sensitive thinkers. So sometimes, I mean, like I was talking to a friend and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I messaged my boyfriend," and I was like, I'm not feeling to eat," and he just said, "Okay, well then don't
Well,
eat."
don't eat.
And so I was like, "What were you expecting?" Like she was like, "Well, I wanted him to be like, 'Are you okay?' Like, and like ask me and stuff." I'm like, "So why don't you just tell him that
As you want to talk.
you want to talk?" I'm
I know,
sure he
right?
would be up to just have a conversation. I don't see what the big deal is. So I think those are the reasons why most girls, I guess they would are getting this stereotype that they are bad communicators. But let the males know that they are not good communicators either, because they just forget things and then think that they told us, but they didn't.
That's true. That's
Okay.
true.
Yeah, I do this.
So, what I was going to say, similar to what Kenny said about her friend, I think why girls are considered bad communicators is because, okay, I'm not saying that everybody is trying to make a movie scene happen, but you ever saw those movie scenes that give you like butterflies? Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I think she wants it to happen. Okay, for example, if I had a boyfriend and I told him, like, don't feel okay, then he'd say, like, what's wrong? Like, it would be normal. But then if I were being dramatic and, like, I didn't speak to him and, like, I just didn't eat, and then he'd, like, notice it, and then let me stop being dramatic. All I'm saying is she probably
Yeah.
wants him to try harder to understand her because then she could fulfill her movie scene dreams. That's the only thing I could see happening. Because like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know.
I
It's
Girls
just
agree.
that's
watching
what
too
I
much
think about it.
TV.
That
Like, let me tell
that
you,
right there makes
Many
sense.
K-dramas.
And I feel
because I
like
have
also
so many friends.
yeah,
I have so many friends that just live this fantasy and they're like, no, you need to be like this. And they will call the name of the character. I can't remember any right now. But I'm like, listen, first of all the movies that you're watching are American, most of them. We live in Trinidad, all right? You need to catch yourself. Nobody gonna come in on an elephant with flowers falling from the sky to ask you to go to no restaurants on a boat. It just not gonna happen. So you kind of need like girls need to wake up and realize that men really don't think that, especially men in Trinidad, don't think that way at all. And you kind of, well, I guess the younger you are, the more you'll fall for that kind of perception. But after a couple of relationships or flirtationships, maybe, I think a lot of them come to realize, all right, fine, it really doesn't work like that, and I kind of just need to catch myself. But I'll be honest, though, some men really are bad communicators. Some girls are really bad communicators, but you just have to figure it out. If you know your boy, like if you know how Kenny said, how her friend was saying that, she didn't eat, but she wanted her boyfriend to like ask her set of questions. You should know that your boyfriend is not that kind of person. You need to be straight out and be like, listen, I really not feeling good and I just want to talk about it. It's that simple. Like, I don't know why people are so afraid to say, I want to talk. I really like to talk. I don't know about anybody else.
Oh, but then too, people should remember that guys speak in a straight line and girls speak in like a.
All over the
So,
place.
for
Yep.
example, if a girl said, like, she and her boyfriend, I don't know, home that day, and she said it's raining, and he's like, oh, okay, no problem. But to her, that man's like, we should stay in, cuddle, watch a movie, do something fun, and he's just like, well,
Mhm.
it's raining, no problem. So I think she communicated with him, but he didn't. He just didn't understand.
Oh, okay. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
As we're in the topic of communicating, how long should the talking phase last before it's considered an official relationship?
I don't believe in talking. I think that if you are interested in me, you can send me a message and ask me on a date. We could go on a date. We talk there. If you want to take me on a second date, we go on a second date. We can talk there. Whenever you're ready, ask me to be your girlfriend, and that's how it works. I'm not spending 2, 3 months talking to no one guy and waiting for him to be like, hey, you want to get together? Like, no, I'm not wasting 2 3 months on no one guy and we just talking. What we talking about? I have enough friends. I have enough
Wait,
friends.
so wait, can I ask you something then? So nothing wrong with that. Like I feel like I understand where you're coming from. What if you don't talk to them before? Oh, you're not going on a first date with a serial killer.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not, this is the thing. So when people say talking, right? Usually they mean like from what I've heard from my friends, is like they talk to this one person alone and like they just like starting to, it's like dating, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
So they're
Mm.
just like, oh, we exclusive and like we just talking to each other alone. Like that's
Oh,
what I mean. But I mean like if you just talk to me, like I'll talk to you. I'm not saying like don't talk to me at all, but obviously I'm not just gonna go on a date with some random person I never met before. Like obviously I would have spoken to them before, but I just mean I'm
just
not,
enough to know that they, normal.
yeah, or like maybe I might
Okay.
have known them. They went to school with me, maybe went to my church or something, and I probably know them. But I just mean like I'm not spending 2 3 months just us talking and being exclusive to each other. And then maybe at the end of those 2 3 months, you might decide you don't want me to be your girlfriend. So what was the point of me talking to you? You know,
We get a friend. Okay, how I look at it, um,
I have enough friends.
okay, well that's fair. But how I look at it, I guess, if it talking to like if I know that we're trying to get to a relationship, are we talking for more than 6 months? It'll be kind of discouraging and I'll be like, I bye. But also talking for me is not like what you were describing with the we exclusive and we're not talking to anybody else. If I'm talking to you, I could be talking to 5 other people at the same time, right? Because you
I
aren't
believe in that.
right, because you aren't my boyfriend, so I don't have to just talk to you alone. If you wanted me to talk to you alone, like on that level, then ask me to be a girlfriend, But talking stage more than 6 months is a bit much for me.
Mhm.
In terms of talking and then making it official, well, for me, I think it would only be official when you officially ask me and I give you an official answer. But in
Mm.
terms of how long it should last, I guess it would be different with each person. Because I don't want to say that I'm a picky person, but I would like to be very selective of who I let into my life like that. So it'll take as long as I need to take before, because wow. Because then I'd have to, introduce you to my family eventually. Like, I'd consider spending the rest of my life with you, and I'm not going to decide if I like you enough to spend the rest of my life with you in 1 month. As yeah, too soon for me. Sorry.
Okay, moving on. Right. From the current rise in divorces, do you think that marriage is still something that would last in this generation?
Yes, I think that marriage is something that would last in this generation. Um, I feel like maybe it may not be as um prominent now than in the past. Like more people tend to be living that, single life, whereas like for women, back in that time, kind of getting married was important for their standing in society, whereas it may not be as important nowadays. And I mean, you could go and have a child at any time. You don't necessarily need to be married to have a child um nowadays. But I don't think that is something that people are outdating. I think some people still dream about getting married and having a wedding and building a family. So I don't think that is something that will be outdated anytime soon.
Yeah, same. Because I still have that dream. I think it's just it depends on the person. If you because I think because of social media, that's why a lot of people are more choosing to, stray away from marriage and just have like a boyfriend or a girlfriend for the rest of their life and they're okay with that and that's fine. But there's still a
Yeah.
lot of people like me that think marriage is, well, maybe it's because of my religion. I prefer to get married before I have kids. Just because, I mean, I don't really want to be bouncing from partner to partner for the rest of my life. I don't, like, I'm completely okay with just having one person by my side from then till the day I die. And that's just, it's really up to preference, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Um, well, I do also believe in marriage. But in terms of divorce, okay, I used to think that marriages don't last because, wow, I don't want to say I've never seen a marriage last, but I'm sure that I probably have, but I can't remember it right now. But I don't think I've ever seen one. So I think and that would be another reason why I'd be so selective in choosing a partner because I don't want that to happen to me. You know, like I have to be
Yeah.
not sure about this person, but I also want the person to be sure about me, so I don't end up in that predicament. But
Mhm.
in this very moment, as I'm speaking, I would probably say I don't think that marriages can last, but it is possible because people have done it before. So, not yes, it's possible to make it to the end with someone.
Yeah, I think.
So
Sorry to disturb.
go
I
ahead.
was just saying. I think that I feel like when you're choosing a partner, like
Mhm.
not to focus. I mean, you focus obviously on like how you guys get along with each other, and like if you guys feel comfortable with each other, like you're like friends, like best friends, like that vibe is important to have. But I feel like what's important too is that you know for sure that this person is committed to making it work, like no matter what. Because I feel like what makes a lot of marriages fail is that they may have like disagreements, but then instead of trying to work out the disagreements, they're like, well, I guess we just gonna divorce because we can't solve
Mhm.
this issue. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, well, do you want to solve the issue? Because the thing is, people can solve issues, but it's only if they want to. So
Mhm.
if you have to find people who willing to compromise, who willing to, work on things.
Mhm. Agreed.
Mhm. So on the topic of marriage, I know there's this trend that in today's society, people get married later. So our parents or grandparents probably get married around their 20s, maybe early 20s, late 20s, but around that time. But now people are more getting married in their 30s and 40s. And why do you think that is?
I think one reason, if you're looking at it historically, is that, now um more people have access to education, like going to university. So some people might want to focus on their studies in their earlier 20s, up to maybe late 20s, depending on when people do that. But I think that is one reason why people tend to get married a little later nowadays. Because I mean, back then it's like your girl just find a husband, and so like it's not like she have any school to go to, so she's spending like 18, 19 just looking for a husband and then getting married or whatever. So I think that's one reason.
Oh, I would also say too, well, in addition to the fact that women would prefer to, finish school first, have their career going, have their own house, get their lives together before including someone else in their lives. But I think around late 20s, early 30s is also when men finally fully mature. So it's only around then they realize they don't want to, keep not messing around with, but keep stringing women on and they finally want to settle down. Yeah.
Not only that too, um, again, the thing with, how you choose who you want to be with. I think now people have problems with commitment. Like, you have a boyfriend for 2 years and then you break up and then you have to start the whole thing over again, which takes time. So then, and then the more you do that, next thing you know, you're 30, 32, and you're like, wow, I really need to settle down and find a husband. So, and that could be because of school too, because you know how, like when you have a relationship in Form 5, when you all leave and go your separate ways, it's like, all right, well, we have to break up. And then you find somebody else in university and they're not doing the same degree as you, so they don't understand how you feel, and then you break up with them. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like the last thing that contributes to why everybody getting married so late now. But I totally agree with the one about education. Yeah. Because I don't find it makes much sense to get married while you're still studying, because that's just a lot of stress. Especially if you want a big wedding, you have to pay tuition and you have to pay for your wedding. Nah, I good.
Kyla, actually, you making a really good point that makes me remember something else. And it kind of ties into what Ryan said as well. I feel like people put more effort into thinking about who they marry, because I feel like the generations before us have had, as Ryan was like saying, a lot of failed marriages and a lot of issues, because I think back then, I mean, they never really used to put too much thought into certain things. So like
Mhm.
people who get in divorce because, they both have opposing views on like having children. Nowadays, we would ask a question like that,
Way
before,
before. Yeah.
whereas they never used to think about that before. So I think that the generation now is putting a lot more thought into who they marry. So it might take a little longer.
Mm. Do you also think it could be because women have more independence now, so they don't have to be married and rely on someone to provide for them?
Yeah, I know a lot of women that think like that now. So that's definitely a reason why a lot less people are getting married.
Okay. Next question. What is the most crucial thing for a healthy relationship?
Kind
I
of have to pick one.
uh, I would say commitment and communication.
I was
Uh
gonna say the communication too.
yeah, because if you're not committed and if you don't communicate openly, then nothing's going to work. I think that if you communicate openly with your significant other, then there's no like secret or no mystery between you two. And I feel like mystery can bring uh challenges with it. So it's better to just be open and honest. And in terms of commitment, as I said before, you could have a problem is if you want to work it out for this person, do you care about this person enough to work out an issue? And so that's why I think commitment and communication is good.
I agree. I don't really have anything to add to that.
I would go with respect because I think it encompasses everything. Because I know lots of people like they used to say love, but I would say respect because you could love somebody but not respect them. For example, your parents. You love your parents, but you'd still well, these are for disrespectful people. You still shout at your mother or you slam doors in the house, even though you love her, but you just can't stand her. And then, so if you respect the person enough, you respect them enough to not go cheat on them, or you respect them enough to communicate your feelings so they know how you feel. Respect them enough to stay committed to them. I'd say respect.
I just thought of something actually. Being understanding is a really important thing. It kind of ties into the communication because I find a lot of times when people can't be understanding with each other, that's like the start of a lot of arguments. But if you could humble yourself and put yourself in the other person's shoes just for a few seconds, it makes it so much easier. And I'm talking from personal experience. Like if you before you lash out and start slam doors and things, if you just sit back and be like, if I was in his or her position, how would I feel about whatever I did or he did? So being understanding, should be a core part of the relationship.
Mhm. And with that, forgiveness, because
Yeah.
nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. And so I feel like don't act all high and mighty like you've never done anything bad in your life before. And just know that even like when you do something bad, sometimes you feel guilty. I'm sure that person probably feels guilty as well. So to just be forgiven and, as Kyla said, understanding.
Mhm.
Okay, I think this will be our last question. what are your views on society's gendered view on sex? So, for example, males can have multiple sexual relationships and they're praised for it, while women are looked down upon if they have multiple sexual relationships.
This is why I keep my business to myself, because you see that rubbish. I will never understand how that's a thing, but I mean, it's I guess it's something that society has kind of kept from years and years ago when men were seen to have more freedom than women. I mean, our generations, well, as your generations go on, we kind of get a little bit more vocal about these things, thank God. So I guess, maybe when we have kids or when we have grandchildren, hopefully that stigma will disappear. But as of right now, I know a lot of people think that way, but I really disagree with that. If you, as a man, could go and have how many sexual partners you want, and then come back to me, one of 10, to tell me that I can't go and have sexual relationships with anybody else, you lie. I mean, that's not, like, I personally wouldn't do that, but I just find that really out of timing. Like, just because on a form you just stick the M and I stick the F, I can't have more than one sexual partner, but you could, makes no sense. Like, make it make sense to me, please. I can't.
I think it also stems from the generations before, because those are people who are our parents, who are our grandparents and stuff like that. And I think it comes from them too, because if we're being honest, the way that they treat stuff like relationships, just like even relationships, the way they treat girls and boys in terms of that is very different. Because I think more boys are like, oh, you're 16, yeah, you can have a girlfriend. And like, if I'm 16 and they're like, oh, you have a boyfriend, you can't have a boyfriend. Like, you're 16. What are you talking about? You cannot have a boyfriend until you're like 18, maybe 20 or something like that. And so then I'm just like, okay, so your son, who is also 16, who you said can date, is he not dating another 16-year-old girl? I'm confused here. Right. And then even I've had this, like, a few instances where someone was like, well, like when I've raised this issue, like someone has been like, well, girls can get pregnant, so nobody wants to put their self in a situation where they have like a teen mom in their home, or like a young mom, or like some type of single mom in their home with like a baby daddy who don't want to help, whatever. And I mean, I get that, but at the same time, do you want to be raising a baby daddy? So to be honest, you should be like even with unfair with how you raise like boys and girls. Like, not be acceptable. Like, some people are like, oh, my son, he and his girlfriend can go in their room, but you and your boyfriend cannot go in your room together. And I'm just like, do you think something different is happening in these rooms? That's what I'm saying. So I'm just like, parents, it starts there. Because then when they see that the girls are being treated differently, then they go into the schools and they're like, oh, she had sex, how dare she, oh my gosh, she's such a, well, I can't say none of those words on YouTube, but you get what I'm saying.
I do agree with what y'all said, because I do find it really unfair that a girl with a high body count will get called certain names that would hurt her feelings, and a guy with a high body count is like, oh, well, no problem, or congratulations. And I don't know why that is or how that is, but I think that both parties should be, well, not held responsible, but treated fairly, treated equally. Like, I don't agree with it, and I don't know why it happens, and I honestly don't know how to solve the problem, because I guess it's a societal issue, but it's a societal issue in every society, so that would be a worldly issue. But we'll get to it another time.
Yeah.
I think that brings us to the end of our questions and the end of our episodes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me as your host. And thank you to our wonderful guests today.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to suggest a topic, leave a message in the comment section.
If you'd like to see more videos, click the subscribe button and turn on your post notifications.